There are several legendary historical artifacts known to mankind, as tales of these treasures have been passed down from our ancient ancestors. However, many of these have yet to be discovered, and their whereabouts remain a mystery. Archaeologists and historians have been searching for these ancient objects for a long time, but have been unable to locate several of them, despite searching for decades. One of these legendary artifacts is the Ark of the Covenant. For centuries, humanity has been trying to find this sacred reliquary, but without success. Recently, a distinguished writer revealed that he might have stumbled upon its true location. The Ark of the Covenant is also known as the Ark of the Testimony or the Ark of God. It is an alleged artifact considered the most sacred object of the Israelites. According to the historical description, the Ark is actually a wooden chest covered in pure gold. It has an elaborately designed lid called the Seat of Mercy. In the book of Exodus, the Ark was revealed to contain 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, and according to the New Testament book of Hebrews, it also contained Aaron's rod and a container of manna. The biblical account says that, about a year after the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, Moses began the construction of the ark according to the pattern that God gave him. When the Israelites camped at the foot of Mount Sinai, the gold-covered acacia chest was carried by its staffs by the Levites for about 2,000 cubits to reach the town when they were on the march. Legend says that God spoke to Moses from between the 2 cherubs on the deck of the ark. The book of Exodus suggests that God instructed Moses to build the ark during his 40-day stay on Mount Sinai. The pattern for the tabernacle and the furniture of the ark were revealed to him, and he was also told to build it with acacia wood. To house the stone tablets, Moses instructed Bezalel and Oholiab to build the ark. The book also provides detailed instructions on how the ark was built. It was supposed to be 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 wide, and 1.5 high. It would then be completely covered in gold, and a gold crown or molding would be placed around it. 4 gold rings were supposed to be attached to the 4 corners, 2 on each side. Through these rings, wooden rods covered with gold would be inserted to carry the ark. These were not to be removed under any circumstances. The golden lid, called caparetta, was the ornament that had 2 golden cherubs. It was supposed to be placed on top of the ark. The account contains no instructions on the thickness of the caparetta or on the details of the cherubs. Furthermore, the cover was supposed to be hammered over the end of the ark and form the space where God would appear. After construction was completed, the book instructed that the ark was to be placed under a veil to keep it hidden. After the creation of this ark by Moses, the Israelites carried it during their 40 years of wandering in the desert. According to the biblical account, when they camped, the Israelites placed it in a separate room within a sacred tent called the tabernacle. When they reached the banks of the Jordan River under the leadership of Joshua, who led them to the promised land, the ark was carried at the head of the procession. During this crossing, the river dried up as soon as the feet of the priests carrying the ark touched the water, and remained dry until the priests and the ark left the river after the people had passed. In commemoration of this miraculous event, 12 stones were taken from the Jordan River, the place where the priests had stood. Over the next few years, the ark ended up in Bethel, where it was cared for by the priest Pinchas, Aaron's grandson. He then remained at Shiloh, another religious center about 10 miles north of Bethel, during the prophet Samuel's apprenticeship. When the Israelites were defeated by the Philistines, the ark was captured by them, and its bearers, Hophni and Pinchas, were killed. The ark was taken by the Philistines to various places in their country, but bad luck always followed them. She was later returned to the Israelites and accompanied King David when he fled Jerusalem, but was later returned. Although the story of the ark was created in a separate text in the 8th century, it was incorporated into the biblical narrative before the Babylonian exile. According to archaeological evidence, there was cult activity at Kiryat Yearim in the 8th and 7th centuries BC, and an elevated sanctuary was found that may have been used as a temple. Thomas Roma has suggested that the Ark may have carried sacred stones similar to those used by pre-Islamic Bedouins. It is speculated that the Ark could have contained a statue of Yahweh or a pair of sculptures depicting him alongside his companion goddess Ashera. Although some see similarities between the Ark and certain Bedouin practices, others argue that these similarities are not enough. Since he disappeared from the biblical narrative, there have been many claims regarding his whereabouts, and several theories have been suggested regarding the matter. One proponent of one theory is British writer Graham Hancock, who is known for promoting pseudoscientific theories about ancient civilizations and lost lands, including the idea that Ice Age civilization gave rise to the first known civilizations. Journalist Graham Hancock investigated the location of the Ark of the Covenant in his book The Sign and the Seal. According to him, the Ark was taken from Solomon's Temple to Elephantine Island and then to the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Aksum, Ethiopia. Hancock correlated his findings with archaeological evidence at Elephantine and the Elephantine papyri, which indicate that the Ark was on that island. Furthermore, the reconstruction of the temple at Elephantine revealed that it faced Jerusalem and had the same dimensions as Solomon's temple. Although Hancock's theory has been criticized, his claim that the Ark is in Ethiopia has been accepted by many. There are several theories about the location of the Ark of the Covenant. Hancock believes she is not in Israel and suggests that the Templars took her to Ethiopia, although Ethiopian Jews have a different version of how she got there. According to them, it arrived during the reign of King Solomon. There is a narrative that tells how Menelik brought the real Ark of the Covenant to Ethiopia with divine help, while a counterfeit was left in the temple in Jerusalem. Hancock's theory of how the Ark arrived in Ethiopia is disputed by local Jews, who claim that it is in the Church of Mary of Zion in Aksum. Legend says that it is guarded by a monk and is inaccessible to everyone. Some experts have criticized Hancock's theory, including John Holliday, an archaeologist at the University of Toronto, and Edward Ullendorf, a former professor of Ethiopian studies at the University of London. Replicas of the Ark are found in all Ethiopian monasteries and churches. Interestingly, these replicas are also prohibited. In fact, according to their beliefs, no church is fit for worship unless a copy of the Ark is installed in it, and no service is considered sacred without its presence. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church also confirmed that it owns the Ark in Aksum. It is currently in custody in a treasury near the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. Replicas of the tablets inside the Ark, called tablets, are also preserved in every Ethiopian Orthodox Church. In June 2009, Ethiopian Orthodox Church Patriarch Abun Paulos said he would announce the revelation of the Ark of the Covenant to the world the following day. He also said that he had been kept safe and secure in the Aksum Church. However, the next day, he announced his decision not to reveal the Ark after all, but said that he could attest to its current status. Now we take you literally to the middle of nowhere, where the lost civilization of the Sumerians and other civilizations you never knew existed were just found. Have you heard of the ancient civilization of Petra? The prehistoric Jordanian city of Petra carved directly into red, white, pink and yellow sandstone cliffs? It was lost to the Western world for hundreds of years. Petra was a prosperous commercial city and capital of the Nabatean Empire between 400 BC and 400 BC. C. and 160 C., located in the southwest of Jordan surrounded by canyons and desert mountains. Although there are other ancient cities with impressive structures, Petra is the best known. The Nabateans, who built Petra, ruled a vast territory in the Middle East until their absorption into the Roman Empire. Remnants of their innovative water systems can still be found in the region. Only 15% of Petra has been discovered and 85% remains unexplored. Petra's importance declined after it was conquered by Rome in 106 AD, and the city fell into decline due to earthquakes and changing trade routes. Tourists wishing to see more Petra-like structures should head to Mosul, Iraq, where scientists recently discovered a kingdom buried under a dam. Due to the drought that has affected southern Iraq, a group of Kurdish and German archaeologists were able to resume excavations of an ancient city in Kemyun that had been submerged under the waters of the Mosul Dam reservoir. The discovery included a palace and several large buildings, and researchers were able to reconstruct the city plan in a relatively short period of time. The team worked in a race against time, not knowing when the reservoir's waters would rise again. They discovered 5 ceramic vessels containing an archive of more than 100 cuneiform tablets dating to the Middle Assyrian period. Archaeologists also discovered rare red and blue wall paintings, leading to the belief that they were a common feature in palaces of the period. Additionally, several other large buildings were discovered in the sprawling city complex, including a massive fortification with a wall and towers, a monumental multi-story warehouse building, and an industrial complex. But the kingdom came to an end under the reign of King Tushratta, during whose reign the Hittites destroyed their capital city of Wasakani. Clay tablets were found in modern paper-like envelopes that were used to enclose cuneiform tablets in the 2nd millennium BC. Researchers believe the cuneiform text belonged to a private Middle Assyrian archive and hope the discovery will provide important information about the history of the area. The excavated buildings were covered with plastic wrap and gravel to protect the ruins, which are now flooded. Any other objects hidden within the ruins must wait to be discovered at a later date. The ancient city of Hydra in Saudi Arabia looks like Petra and could hold secrets from an ancient civilization. Saudi Arabia wants to reduce its dependence on oil and attract tourism to increase its income. They have launched Saudi Vision 2030, a plan to make the country a global trade and tourism hub. The Crown Prince has begun issuing tourist visas, and the city of Hydra is an obvious choice to attract visitors due to its architecture and the fact that it is virtually unknown. The Nabateans were desert nomads who controlled trade routes and supplied spices and aromatics. Hydra was an important provincial city for them. The Nabateans became visible in history because they became rich naturally. The Nabateans prospered from the 4th century BC until the 1st century AD, and its territory included Jordan, Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Syria. Their identity was lost and Petra was rediscovered in 1812. The difficulty in learning about the Nabateans is that they left very little first-hand history. Most of what we know about them comes from documents written by outsiders. Most of the remaining structures are tombs, and much of the city's architectural remains have been literally lost to the sands of time. Despite their obscurity, the Nabateans were ancient pioneers in architecture, taking advantage of the arid desert environment to their advantage. The tombs at Hydra have natural water pipes to protect them from erosion, which has kept them in good condition for thousands of years. The Nabateans, who built these tombs, were innovative and creative. The architecture of the tombs is influenced by classical Greek and Roman architecture, but also has Mesopotamian, Iranian, Egyptian, and Greek influences, creating a unique style of architecture called Arabic Baroque. The tombs have intimidating inscriptions warning of fines and divine punishments for trespassing. These inscriptions also include dates that are important to archaeologists and historians. In Hydra, the oldest tomb is from 1 BC, and the most recent is from 70 AD, which helps fill in the gaps in the timeline. There are 7,000 Nabatean inscriptions throughout the kingdom, but only a little more than 100 of them have dates. Most inscriptions are short writings containing the name of an individual or a request to a god. Some Hydra tombs contain the final resting places of high-ranking officers and their families, who, according to the writing on their tombs, carried their adopted Roman military titles with them into the afterlife. The inscriptions also underline the commercial importance of Hydra and the diversity of Nabatean society. The term Nabatean is not an ethnic term, but a political expression meaning that they are in charge of a kingdom or dynasty, and there were several types of people in the Nabatean kingdom. The tomb of Lihian, son of Kuza, is the largest in Hydra, but its lower third was left unfinished. Some tombs were abandoned in the middle of construction for unknown reasons. A new chapter in Hydra's history has just begun, as travelers now have easy access to the site for the first time. It used to be difficult to visit Hydra. Only a few Saudis and foreign terrorists could do so with special permission. Now, anyone can buy a ticket online for $25 and visit 7 areas by buses. Apart from Hydra, there are other nearby heritage sites, such as the ancient city of Dayton and Jabal Makanyan, which are open to visitors. Al-Ula's city is also open for tourism and hopes to attract 2 million tourists per year by 2035. Al-Ula's airport has been renovated and there is a luxury hotel designed by a French architect scheduled to open in 2024. The Nabateans are an important civilization in the region and its legacy can be seen in Hydra. But 10 other historical languages have also been discovered in the region. Al-Ula is considered an important region in the development of the Arabic language. An ancient civilization called Harappa has been found that flourished around 3000 BC. In what is now Pakistan and India, Indian scientists working in the Gulf of Kumbat suggest that the Harappans descended from an advanced mother culture that was submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. The discovery of this submerged civilization demonstrated the existence of an ancient civilization and has established the possibility that ancient civilizations were submerged by rising sea levels after the last ice age. The oldest city-state civilization is believed to have existed in Mesopotamia about 5,500 years ago. Furthermore, an extensive mature civilization has been found on the border of India, Pakistan and Afghanistan, called the Harappan civilization, which existed between 5,300 and 2,800 years ago. Important ruins have been discovered in India, including cities with straight streets, drainage and well-constructed water transportation systems. The artifacts found indicate that there was an important missing link between the ancient hunter-gatherers and the Harappan civilization. Archaeologists believe this missing link may have been submerged by a significant rise in sea level caused by melting ice sheets. India's National Institute of Ocean Technology has conducted marine surveys and discovered square rectangular features that appear to be human-made and are believed to have been part of the submerged Harappan civilization. 2 ancient canals were discovered in the Kumbat area 20 kilometers from the current coast, using technological equipment that creates images of the seabed. Features similar to a habitation structure were identified on both sides of the canal in a grid pattern, indicating that the ancients had a good sense of urban planning. Beneath a few centimeters of thin marine sediment, alluvium and pebbles typical of terrestrial river sediments were observed, followed by typical river conglomerates at greater depth, demonstrating that the now submerged area was once dry land with rivers running through it. But one of the most interesting things about our world is the recent wave of discoveries that are being made again and again, considering the fact that our planet has been around for millions of years. The opportunity to learn more about him is always intriguing. Recently, there have been many theories about races of humans existing since before we arrived on the scene. Specifically, historians and even theologians have postulated the existence of massively enormous giants that have roamed the earth for thousands of years. But a recent discovery has made these claims even stronger and could change our perception of Earth forever. Reports emerged detailing an incredible discovery in a shipwreck that surprised everyone. According to the report, German explorers and archaeologists led by Georg Fassbinder discovered an ancient tomb in 2003 that they believe belonged to giants who roamed the earth centuries or even millennia ago. As expected, the researchers were not satisfied with discovering something small. They had to go big. The tomb was eventually searched, with explorers supposedly discovering the bodies of massive giants and sending them to laboratories for analysis. However, since this discovery was made, it seems like not much was said about it, and everyone put it under lock and key. As expected, the discovery has been the subject of some controversy. Whose tomb was it, and are there more like them? One of the most prominent theories about this archaeological find is that the tomb belonged to the mythical king Gilgamesh. You may know Gilgamesh from the Marvel movie The Eternals, but while the character in the movie was excellently portrayed by Ma Dong-suk, the mythical character actually has a very long root. Gilgamesh is the protagonist of the poem of Gilgamesh, a story that many believe is the oldest story ever written in human history. In history, Gilgamesh was described as a 5-meter-tall giant. Even the great Kali had nothing on this guy. He was reportedly the son of a Sumerian king and a Mesopotamian goddess, and ended up ruling the land of Uruk, which later became ruins, so it is possible that he was buried in his hometown, and his body was eventually discovered in 2003. Anyway, Gilgamesh was essentially a demigod, and during his reign he waged war against his enemies and sometimes acted like a tyrant towards his people, which is not surprising considering he had godlike strength and could pretty much do whatever he wanted. In the Gilgamesh poem it is said that the gods finally heard the cries of Gilgamesh's people. These men practically had to live in fear of their almighty king and wanted a savior, so Anu, the king of the gods, used clay and his own saliva to make Enkidu, a wild man who would basically challenge Gilgamesh to a contest of strength. When Gilgamesh and Enkidu finally came to blows, it was pretty epic. Both men had divine strength, and their duel lasted for days. Eventually, Gilgamesh still managed to emerge victorious. Later, when Enkidu finally died, Gilgamesh was so grief-stricken that he basically became a philosopher. The death of his friend made him question the meaning of life and the value of all human achievements. Enkidu's death also caused Gilgamesh to become a better person. He abandoned all pride in himself and embarked on an epic quest to find the meaning of life and, hopefully, even defeat death. This guy was so impressive that his secondary quest was to defeat death. We're not sure how Gilgamesh eventually died, but the point here is that for many years, everyone has believed that the Gilgamesh epic was nothing more than a literary concept, and that the ancient king probably didn't even exist. However, everything changed when Fassbinder and his team made this discovery. According to the team, it appeared that the tomb they discovered actually belonged to the ancient king of Uruk, thanks to modern technology, and they found more than 100,000 hectares of land including buried Babylonian houses and properties. Although they claim to have found conclusive evidence that the Gilgamesh poem was real, excavation was halted due to the Iraq War and most of the artifacts were destroyed. According to conspiracy theorists, the U.S. government started the war in Iraq to clear the archaeological site and obtain the objects. Some believe the government is doing DNA testing on the corpse to reincarnate the giant race or crossbreed them with humans. Corey Goode is one of the main proponents of this theory, and claims that there are stasis chambers with these creatures all over the world. It is unknown whether the government is using the giants' burial sites as test sites for a super soldier project, or preserving them as part of human history. The discovery of these giants has generated many theories, including the possibility that one of them is Gilgamesh. Although some theologians believe that the tomb belongs to Nimrod, a biblical character known for his strength and ambition. The line of Nimrod dates back to Cush, Noah's grandson, who built the ark that saved humanity from the flood. Nimrod was a powerful man and hunter, and a king at one time. His kingdom is said to have covered Babylon, Iraq, Uruk, Keln and Shinar in Mesopotamia. He is credited with building the Tower of Babel, where humanity tried to reach the heavens and speak to God, but the tower was destroyed and the citizens spoke different languages. The Bible did not claim that Nimrod commissioned the construction of the tower, but it is a theory by scholars who see him as someone who tried to defy God. Nimrod is believed to have been a powerful man according to the Bible and is linked to the construction of the Tower of Babel. Flavius Josephus, a 1st-century Roman scholar, wrote that Nimrod incited people to defy and despise God. There is speculation about the connection between Nimrod and Gilgamesh, as they share strong physical traits and issues with God. Some believe that Nimrod could have been the inspiration for the Epic of Gilgamesh, or that they were both the same person, although it is not known how Nimrod or Gilgamesh died. But does the tomb belong to Nimrod? Some believe so, as they believe Nimrod was real, unlike Gilgamesh, which has not been proven. They argue that Uruk, which is depicted in the Gilgamesh poem, was based on a real place. If Nimrod was the ruler of the land, the tomb discovered by German researchers could be his. However, why didn't they put up a sign to identify the grave? If the research team had labeled the grave correctly, we would not have to argue about the identity of the occupant. But these types of discoveries are not unique, since there are many archaeological finds that confirm the existence of giants who lived hundreds or thousands of years ago. Lovelock Cave in Nevada is one of the most notable discoveries of giants in recent memory. In 1911, two miners found more than 40 incredibly large human skeletons. An employee of the University of California Museum of Anthropology excavated the cave in 1912 and found more than 100,000 phenomenal objects. It is believed that the skeletons could belong to the legendary Sidakar tribe of Paiute history, who were cannibals and who, according to an account by Sarah Winnemucca, described the hardships and suffering they faced at the hands of white settlers, including armed conflicts and the loss of its natural resources. Archaeologists found evidence of burns at the cave entrance, suggesting it was set on fire. Stonehenge is a popular ceremonial site in the UK, but no one knows who built it. In 2018, it was revealed that the people who built Stonehenge disappeared shortly after its construction and left no traces of DNA in the modern British population. No one knows who exactly the builders of Stonehenge were, but it is believed that they must have been really great people. The disappearance of the builders has long puzzled scientists. In 1998, researchers at Emory University in Atlanta discovered a strain of DNA called the X line that did not fit into Native American migration routes. Scientists believe this strain could date back as far as 36,000 years ago, and have a different source from the other groups. There is a group of people whose origin cannot be fully traced and are believed to be our extraterrestrial ancestors. The alien theory appears in many theories about human origins. A video about an alien city shows a journey beginning in Leipzig, Germany in 2011. Biologists led by geneticist Svante Pääbo of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology discovered that early humans made contact and even mated with early hominids. Some believe that humans mated with non-human life forms on Earth and also with aliens. Christians believe in mating between humans and angels fallen from heaven, which resulted in giants. Although it may seem far-fetched, there is evidence to suggest that alien life may have arrived or influenced human evolution. In our search for answers about human origins and the influence of extraterrestrial beings on our evolution, the surprising revelations in Antarctica lead us to further question the possibility of advanced civilizations in our world. As we explore the connections between alien life and human history, we will now delve into the mysterious ice-covered continent that has held unimaginable secrets for millennia. Antarctica has kept a secret that we never suspected it had. The ice-covered continent has not received much attention from scientists and archaeologists due to the huge blocks of ice that characterize the region, posing an obstacle to discoveries. However, it appears that this same ice has preserved an entire advanced civilization for thousands of years, until it was recently discovered by scientists. The possibility of advanced civilizations living in our world has always been debated, but the proof of unimaginable structures found by scientists and archaeologists is constructions such as pyramids and immense temples large enough to have been built by giants. These monuments have always been fascinating because of their construction, and how such a building was built without power machines to help today's construction workers in their activities. Just so you know how great these buildings are, thousands of years after they were built, our modern world had to name not one, but two of these pyramids as part of the 7 wonders of the world. Although most of the pyramids are known from Egypt and Mexico, there are more pyramids around the world, including the recently discovered one in Antarctica. It seems strange that a frozen continent like Antarctica would have a pyramid. However, with what has been discovered recently, there is a huge burden that we have not fully discovered about the entire history of the Earth. Before the last ice age, Antarctica was a flat land where people lived. Antarctic explorers first sighted it in 1820, but an ancient map from 1513, drawn by a Turkish cartographer called Piri Reis, shows Antarctica without ice. It is believed that this ancient Antarctic civilization hid from the world. The map was found by Gustav Dyson in 1929 in the library of Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. Piri Reis, also known as Haji Ahmed Muhyiddin, was a passionate cartographer who served in the Turkish Navy as an Ottoman admiral. The Piri Reis map is valuable because it accurately shows the coasts of North Africa, Brazil and Europe, including islands such as the Canary Islands, the Azores and possibly Japan. The mystery lies in how a map from 1513 shows a continent that was discovered in 1820. Conspiracy theorists, backed by some scientists, claim that Antarctica was home to an ancient civilization and the legendary lost city of Atlantis due to the theory of shifting of the Earth's crust, suggesting that Antarctica was once ice-free. Theory suggests that large areas of Antarctica were ice-free 12,000 years ago and could have been inhabited by people. This would explain the existence of an ancient society, possibly the mythical city of Atlantis, which was mentioned by Plato in 360 BC. The Piri Reis map supports this theory, and NASA also confirmed the presence of traces of an ancient civilization beneath the Antarctic ice. The footprints were taken by remote sensing photography for NASA's Ice Bridge mission in Antarctica. There has been talk of the discovery of a pyramid in Antarctica in NASA and Google Earth images, suggesting that humanity lived and built structures there at some point. Some scientists believe that the United States government already knew about this discovery and was hiding it from the public. An archaeologist claims there is a massive archaeological dig underway 2 miles under the ice. Some people believe that an ancient civilization, or even aliens, built the structure, but other scientists suggest that it is simply the result of erosion from a steep mountain. The Pyramid Mountain in Antarctica is not a man-made construction, but a natural pyramid-shaped mountain discovered by aviator Lincoln Ellsworth. Several experts have explained that this shape is not unique and that other summits also have a similar shape, although not as complete. The mountain is located in the Heritage Range, known for its fossils, and although it is not very tall, its shape makes it stand out. Some scientists suggest that the pyramidal shape may be the result of freeze-thaw erosion caused by snow and water filling the mountain's crevices during the day and freezing at night. Freezing and thawing erosion has created the mountain's pyramidal shape. This process occurs when snow or water fills cracks within the mountain during the day, and then freezes and expands into ice at night. This process is repeated many times, leading to the creation of larger cracks that can eventually cause entire sections of rock to break. Mauri Pelto, a professor of environmental sciences, suggests that the unnamed mountain is a single layer of rock that eroded evenly on 3 of its sides. The east side, however, rises to even higher ground, and erosion was probably not as equal. Although some media are saying that the mountain was newly discovered, this is unlikely. In Antarctica there is a research base for climate scientists, and from there you can see the Pyramid Mountain. However, it raises the question of whether there are other structures built by ancient advanced civilizations. There is mention of a Neolithic temple in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe, which has complex geometric architecture and is older than Stonehenge. This temple is important because it was built by hunter-gatherers and is one of the most significant discoveries of Neolithic research. The building is very technical and ancient, making it intriguing to archaeologists. Researchers from Tel Aviv University and the Israel Antiquities Authority are studying the structure, including Professor Avi Gopher. Göbekli Tepe was built by Neolithic communities more than 11,000 years ago, and has large round structures and monumental stone pillars up to more than 5 meters high. Although there is no evidence of agriculture or animal domestication at the time, it is believed that hunter-gatherers built the site. The ancient temple of Göbekli Tepe has been the subject of archaeological debate since it was founded in 1994. Although the remains of the early Neolithic, architectural planning during this period and its cultural implications have been little studied. Researchers Hackley and Gopher say that 3 structures were designed as a single project and according to a coherent geometry. The complex arrangement reflects changes in the spiritual world and social structure. They used an analytical tool and algorithm to identify an underlying geometric pattern that governs the design. Research shows that early architectural planning took place in the Levant and globally, and that the complexity of the layout of the enclosures at Göbekli Tepe reflects changes in the spiritual and social world. Planning skills and practices, such as the use of geometry in the formulation of floor plans, were thought to have emerged much later than the period in which Göbekli Tepe was built. The findings suggest that the major architectural transformations during this period were top-down processes carried out by specialists, and that the most important and basic methods of architectural planning were devised in the Levant during the late Epipaleolithic period and the early Neolithic period. Additionally, the research does not rule out the possibility that an advanced civilization lived on Earth at some point in Earth's history. In another study, researchers discovered a network of lost cities in the Amazon using laser technology. Complex and elaborate urban settlement structures of the Kazarab culture have been discovered in the Llanos de Mojos region of the Bolivian Amazon. The discovery includes 5-meter-high terraces spanning 22 hectares and 21-meter-high conical pyramids. A large network of reservoirs, checkpoints and roads was also found that challenged the view of the Amazon as a historically pristine landscape. Early urbanism was created and managed by indigenous populations for thousands of years, and was built alongside nature, employing successful sustainable strategies that promoted conservationism and maintained the rich biodiversity of the surrounding landscape. Scientists have discovered long causeways connecting reservoirs and lakes in the Bolivian Amazon, indicating that indigenous populations created productive agricultural and aquaculture landscapes in the region for thousands of years. The discoveries show that the scale of work and planning to build these settlements has no precedent in the Amazon region and is comparable only to the archaic states of the Central Andes. The researchers say these findings provide evidence of sustainable strategies and a previously unknown cultural and ecological heritage in the region. The architectural layout of the Kazarab culture indicates that the inhabitants of this region created a new social and public landscape. Scientists believe these discoveries can significantly contribute to the conservation prospects of the Amazon. The construction of ceremonial civic architecture, water management infrastructure, and the spatial extent of settlement dispersal compare favorably with Andean cultures and are on a scale far beyond these sophisticated interconnected settlements of southern Amazonia. What does all this say? That we can't explain everything. Despite advances in understanding our history, there are many unanswered questions. As the world continues to evolve, new questions will continue to arise.